Hello and welcome to This Week on Planet Earth. I'm your co-host Jacob.
And I'm your co-host Matty, and each week we will break down the latest space exploration, science, and technology news.
So without further ado, let's get into this week's stories. So I'm going to kick this week off again with some Bitcoin news. I want to apologize to everybody last week when I was talking about it going up to 40k again, and the horizon looked good because Bitcoin has now dropped below 30k again. I think it's on the rise as we speak in around like 32, 33. But I'm not going to say anything about what the future holds for it because I learned my lesson last week. And if there's one thing to learn about cryptocurrencies, it's a mental place to be.
Yeah, we might have to start putting a disclaimer of this is not financial advice
Yeah.
at the end of the podcast. Yeah, it's pretty turbulent there at the moment. And obviously what's been happening in China with them banning a lot of the mining and stuff has taken a bit of an impact on it. So
Yeah. One thing I will say that actually looked really cool, which just come to my mind that I saw today is have you seen that Paraguay now are going to be accepting Bitcoin, and they've got like one of the world's largest hydro dams as well, which is pretty interesting. And I think I saw somewhere that they're even going to be allowing some of the miners to come over from China. So that could be interesting. But yeah, sorry everybody for getting your hopes up last week.
Yeah, so my first bit of news is about the Boeing Starliner. So this is the crew capsule that Boeing are developing for NASA. So one of the sort of competing ones that they've got to get us to various places. So basically, back in December 2019, they did their first sort of flight of this, the orbital flight test 1, and that was cut short because of some problems and stuff. And the planned docking with the International Space Station was cancelled. Boeing have just confirmed that they've checked all of the 80 recommendations and carried out all of the sorts of changes and developments since that flight test. So they're now targeting a second test in July, at the end of July. So it's sort of another step along of first flight test done, lots of progress made, and they're going to go again relatively soon. So that looks interesting, and it'd be cool to see Boeing getting into that space as well.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking that Boeing are the people that have the blue flight suit that they have? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So my second bit of news this week, it's space related again. It's a little bit more out there, but it's squids in space. And basically, a dozen baby squids are being sent into space so scientists can see how they're affected on their journey. And well, dozens, not a dozen, sorry. And it's 128 baby Hawaiian bobtail squids, and they're being sent into orbit later this month by a SpaceX resupply mission. And they're going to be going to the International Space Station. And basically, scientists want to understand how these squids cope with the journey to space to help with health problems that face astronauts and stuff. So it sounds quite interesting. I feel sorry for the squids because they probably don't get to choose, but I'm also jealous of the squids because, hey, the squid's going to space before I am.
Yeah, I was looking at this article and seeing if there was any reason why they've chosen squids, but I couldn't find anything. So, yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch and say why squids are being used, that would be.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's something to do with the immune systems is what they want to look at, but I'm not sure.
I've just seen the article ends with they will be frozen for their return to Earth in July. So amazing. Apparently, they do only live 2 or 3 months in the wild, so I imagine they're gonna freeze them before they decompose on the space station, so they can study them back on Earth. But yeah, that's cool. Always good to do the space science stuff. So.
Yeah, and squids freak me out, man. They look so alien to this planet. So it's cool.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah.
My second bit of news is also on space this time, back to humans. So I can't remember. Did you ever apply for the European Space Agency astronaut stuff?
I didn't. I wanted to, but I didn't. It looked awesome, but I didn't get any STEM qualifications. So
yeah, so they've now that's now closed, and they said there's a total of 22,589 people applied for the positions.
Oh, wow,
which is 2.5 times the number of people that applied back in 2008 when ESA last run the competition. So, yeah, I think that's really good. It shows that people are interested in this stuff, and it's sort of still generating a lot of interest among people. So
yeah, do you think that's because of like everything that's been going on in like the last couple of years with like astronauts going up with like SpaceX and stuff, or do you just reckon we're moving more into like the space age and people are probably viewing it as an actual like career option now instead of it being like this really difficult thing to get into?
I think it's becoming more like an actual job rather than just almost like a superhero thing that people do. Like Apollo astronauts and stuff, they were just absolute freaks of nature with just like the cleverest, the most fit people on Earth.
Yeah.
And sort of get to the point now where we're sending more, I don't want to say just scientists, but scientists and doctors and things up. So it's becoming more about the research and less about like pushing humans to the absolute limits of their abilities, sort of thing. So
yeah, I can imagine one good thing from this as well for like the private sector. They're probably licking their lips because that just shows like how popular space tourism is going to be in the future, because it's just getting exponentially more like popular as it kind of goes on.
Yeah, but I think it's good that it's getting the sort of publicity and stuff as well. So cool.
Yeah. So I'll move on to my last bit of news this week, and kind of keeping in the theme of space. I think it's quite a lot going on, but basically there's signs of geological activity found on Venus, and scientists have found evidence of part of Venus's surface is moving around like the continents of Earth, but they're not sure if it's plate tectonics yet, but they think it could be like a cousin process of that. But it's interesting because I swear like the more we're learning about Venus, the more kind of like not dead it is. Seems to be quite active. And
yeah, it seems over the last sort of decade or so to have got a lot more interest in it, because obviously Mars was the big one and where a lot of the sort of money's going to. But there's those 2 new NASA missions, and there's also a European mission.
I think there's a rocket lab as well, isn't there?
Yeah, so it's getting a lot of interest, and maybe Venus isn't the sort of dead place we thought it was. It was a bit boring and the boring cousin of Mars.
Yeah, because it says here on this article on the BBC, if anybody wants to check it out, Europe is also launching a spacecraft called Envision, and it's going to radar map the entire planet, and it's going to like check its atmosphere, which is kind of cool. I don't actually know what the 2 NASA ones do. I did see, but I can't remember off the top of my head now. But it does look interesting. But it says that the area that was moving is the Lavina Planitia or Planetia on Venus, and it shows like a cool radar image of it. And they basically can just see how the rocks are like breaking and moving around.
Yeah, tectonics is cool because it's on Earth, at least. It's a lot of what drives a lot of our natural processes and stuff. So things like obviously mountains and formation of seas and things rely a lot on plate tectonics. So if there is tectonics on Venus, and that's another thing that we can investigate, and will be interesting to see some more science on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think whoever took this photo as well, you should definitely sell it as an NFT. It looks very cool. Someone would buy it. But yeah, that's my last story this week. Yeah,
and then my one is again space. I've gone all space this week, bit of a change. So this is just a fun article on, well, it's not fun, it's science, but it's a bit of fun, on Science News. So basically these scientists have discovered 2,000 stars from which aliens could spot us in the same way that we spot them. So the way that we sort of spot exoplanets and stuff, by looking at the planet going in front of the star and looking for the dip in the sort of light that comes from the star. They've been able to identify 2,000 stars where if there was aliens sort of living on planets around that star, they would be able to do the same to us.
That's cool.
Which I think is just amazing, because I think we said on the podcast before that this sort of exoplanet stuff has only come about like pretty recently.
Yeah.
And like from 1, 2 exoplanets, we now have like thousands of them, and we're even like categorizing places that would see us as an exoplanet. So
yeah, that's like it's a really weird way to think as well, because like we don't really ever think like that. And yeah, that's it's kind of cool that somebody even thought about doing that and kind of thinking like who could see us if they were out there like using our methods and stuff. And that's really interesting.
So it says there's 2,034 stars that are sort of in these positions that they could see us. 75 of those stars are close enough that our sort of human radio transmissions have already reached them, so they could actually like see signals going from us as well. And 7 of those stars have potentially habitable planets. So there's potentially 7, or I guess there could be multiple habitable planets, but at least 7 planets that could have aliens on them that could see us.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, and I think it's just it was a bit of fun, but it just shows sort of how far we've come in terms of being able to observe these planets. So.
Yeah, it is crazy because it's like you definitely couldn't even try and start learning them all as well because they've got crazy names, haven't they? It's not like our solar system where they're like all named after like gods and stuff.
Yeah,
it's very different.
Trappist, that's the only one I know.
Yeah, there's a few there, isn't there, that are habitable, isn't there?
Yeah,
is it like 7? Is it 7?
I think there's 7 planets, and I think like 3 to 5 are in the habitable zone or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Imagine being a species that is in a solar system that has like 3 habitable planets. That must be like so many resources, like just reckless. But
yeah.
No, that's really cool. Well, yeah, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of This Week on Planet Earth. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up because it just helps, and let us know down in the comments below if we missed any cool stories or anything that we should bring up next week. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe because trying to get that 100 custom link. And yeah, we will catch you either next week or the week after. So see you then.